Speaking of Ted Cruz, let's, can we, Brendan, can you go to like a COVID page so we can just look to see what the stats are and what the date is today? Because Ted Cruz is an effing despicable. I mean, everybody knows this. This is not a news report, but, this is, I guess this is like the entertainment news of like, it's not hard hitting news. This is the COVID in the US latest map and count. Can you zoom in just a little bit so people can see that? It's, here we are. Okay, there we are. Look at where we are in July. Now look at where we are in November. Look at where we were in April, right? I mean, this is what we have here. You can look at the 14-day change. It is plus 82%.
Wow.
Remember, deaths are a lagging indicator. And here is, and also November 16th, you should remember, is a Monday. Usually when it's Sunday, it's tough to catch up. Here is Ted Cruz on July 22nd of this year, explaining to people his prediction about COVID.
You know, an interesting thing, if it ends up that Biden wins in November, I hope he doesn't. I don't think he will, but if he does, I guarantee you the week after the election, suddenly all those Democratic governors, all those Democratic mayors will say, everything's magically better. Go back to work, go back to school. Suddenly the problems are solved. You won't even have to wait for Biden to be sworn.
Oh, my God.
Yep. COVID's going to go away week after the election.
Yep.
Hot take. Good prediction. I would love to gamble with Ted Cruz.
You know what? I mean, just like contemplate something. I mean, obviously, this is a lot of a Monday morning quarterbacking. Although at the time I thought like you're wasting money with Amy McGrath. I don't think that kind of money necessarily, I don't buy the idea like, millions of dollars went to Amy McGrath. That's what inhibited giving to other places. I don't think it works that way. I think people just, they're expansive, Would you imagine if you had that, let's say $30 million right now, and the Democrats just did like a national ad campaign, just running Ted Cruz, that clip, and a graph of where COVID
and that would have, I mean, even before the election, things like that.
No, not even before the election.
But now.
But I'm saying like
tying Republicans to the coronavirus.
Right.
Yes. Like
they did it with, actually the brilliance of the Obamacare, they actually did that with Obamacare. They had a massive ad campaign for the Affordable Care Act. Now, can you imagine that for COVID? If anybody's watching from the Biden transition team administration, how about you take a little bit of that money?
I mean,
that's how you're going to win Georgia, by the way. That's it.
You spend the off year. Exactly. You spend the off year, even the off year, forget about Georgia, but certainly in terms of Georgia, like, why aren't you just telling people right now when in an ad now versus in the run up to the campaign, that much more powerful, that much more effective, because it's not perceived as a campaign. It is not being buried by a bunch of other campaign ads. But just now, like, hey, want to make sure you're aware of this. You don't have to be on Twitter to see this. You should be able to see it when you watch TV. Ted Cruz, paid for by people who actually care about Americans' health, like Americans for Sanity. Like, what? Like, why are we not seeing something like that? Like, how hard would that be? Because I got news for you. Like, this is the thing. And when Brett Kavanaugh is up for the Supreme Court, when Amy Coney Barrett's up for the Supreme Court, millions of dollars flood the airwaves in support of these guys. These issue campaigns, bless you, they exist, and Democrats just don't have that notion. I mean, that's the difference. That's like, on some level, that's Doug Jones saying, don't focus on the candidate.
That's right.
Focus on the district. In this instance, the district is America, or maybe
that's
it's Georgia,
what the Democrats are supposed to do. So like Jamie Harrison, while I like him as a person, and I covered him as a person, he was a state chair. He's a lobbyist. You need someone who understands what it means to build a party that exists when, like Doug Jones said, but that's not something new that he said. This is something that Democrats
to do with him as state chair. I'm curious because it doesn't seem like, and how did South Carolina do with Harrison as state chair?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not trying to be a jerk, but
well, some of that also has to do with, I'm not saying that it was his management. It's just to do, there's no state party infrastructure. So is Jamie Harrison the one who is going to revive? I mean, you know, I covered the DNC chair race. No, I can tell you because I have him on camera from 3 years ago when he ran for chair before. They're not interested in using the party as an apparatus to win the messaging wars, which ultimately wins them the electoral wars. They're just not interested in it. It's just not how it functions.
But it did function that way not that long ago. Like, that's what's annoying is that, like, Dean did try to implement some of these changes. Like, why is the imagination so short? Like, I think about that when people talk about abolishing ICE as like this radical idea. Like, it's not been around that long. I mean,
right.
that's different from, you know, an electoral perspective. I'm talking policy, obviously, but like, why are people's memories and imagination so goddamn short?
What's his
Offset cycles.
Gore Vidal.
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time. Gore Vidal was one of our early guests on the original Majority Report on the radio show. And he,
was he really? He's
yeah.
alive?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He came in studio multiple times.
Yeah, like 06, something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it was great. In fact, at one point,
jealous.
actually, I think we had him on and called up Janine's dad and had tried to have Gore Vidal like convince Janine's dad. I think they actually became sort of friendly.
Wow.
But he I think at the time, maybe right before, sometime around then, had a book, United States of Amnesia. And he would come in and he would like talk about this. And I was just like, you know, I vaguely know the historical, like, I don't like, I couldn't really grasp what he was talking about. You know, like, I mean, I understand, you know, I could understand the concept, but I just couldn't feel it viscerally. And now, having done this for 15 years and watching how short the memory is, like, I mean, just like we were just talking about Benghazi, like if there was a consciousness of how hard, you know, the right went on Benghazi, those 4 deaths over and over and over again, because we just remember it in terms of like, that's how Hillary's, you know, emails came up. But for them, the animating principle for years was those 4 deaths. If that was in, like, if our brains had the capacity to sort of like remember that and then hear these guys go like, look, you know, 600 people died today. It's not that big of a deal, you know, or 1,400 people. You know, we've got a crisis. Like, everybody would be, and I don't know if it's just this country, but it's sort of, I think, you know, at least Vidal's idea was that, yeah, no, there is something unique about our society that just sort of like
Capitalism.
Well, I mean, there's capitalism other places too.
No, but like thinking about it from terms of how we do our electoral system. So yes, there's capitalism in other places, but for instance, in the UK, there's a shorter time period where you can actually do electioneering. Everything is ratings driven here. You know, it's not that you have more public media, even if it is being slowly privatized in other countries or they're oligarch owned. Our entire system, whether it's campaign finance, whether you're running for office, is quarterly. Whether it's just Wall Street in general, is quarterly. Daily stock markets, you know, buying and selling the ratings of a show. I mean, Benghazi was a ratings bonanza. That's why, but it's not because they thought they were going to defeat Democrats. It's because they realized, oh, ratings are great on Fox News during Benghazi. AOC is great for ratings. Hillary's great for ratings. Kamala Harris is going to be amazing for ratings.
Yep. I think that's probably true, actually. And the idea that we just like churn stuff out, don't ever digest it. It's like almost like that. What is that stuff that they had that they developed that was like the fat that wasn't absorbed and it basically would just go right through you for that ice cream. There was a fad at one point.
I don't want that. Tell me more.
No, you don't.
Well, I mean, is that what all the diet sodas are made out of? It's like 0 calories, except it's like the
there was some type they had
ever.
Like the fat-free ice cream at one point that was like it wouldn't the fat wouldn't bind, and you know,
but you're putting that in your body,
and
right?
it's just going right through you.
Cool.
I don't want to get more explicit than that.
Right.
Literally going right there.